My boyfriend and I got in a heated argument over politics and the presidential candidates, so now I'm going to have to break up with him because of it. I, 20F, started dating my boyfriend, 21M, about 2 months ago, but we've known each other for 3 years. We weren't initially interested in dating, but it kinda just happened and things have been really well except for one thing. I found out he's a Trump supporter. It's just been a couple of things that have really rubbed me the wrong way about him for some reason. For context, I'm a Hispanic female immigrant that fled from a country that went to shiz, and I've had nothing but bad experiences with Trump supporters, because almost every single time without fail they would always say or do something extremely demeaning to myself or my family. Examples ranging from talking about how people like us should be deported, without even realizing they are referring to us, or saying that people like me are a threat to the country. I consider myself the kind of person who judges a person's character based on what they believe in, and time again, it's been proved to me that these types of people are the type I should stay away from. On the day that Trump got convicted, my boyfriend and I started talking about politics, and he told me, he's not really a felon. The courts were unfair, there was bias, and he should have had a fair trial. When we were watching season 4 of The Boys, an old man told another character in the show that women can reject pregnancies. My boyfriend agreed with that old man. When I explained to him that that's not how women work, he apologized to me, but I was still absolutely surprised that he didn't even understand such a basic thing about women. He has a sister, so it's not like he grew up without women in his life. We had a conversation about immigration, and he told me that all immigrants should be immediately deported. I told him that myself and my family are immigrants, and if that meant he wanted my family and I to be deported, to which he said, "But you guys are legal, and I'm talking about the illegal ones." I told him that this type of rhetoric makes me feel unsafe, and the conversation kinda just ended there. When we were having a conversation about the Trump and Epstein relationship, he told me that it was all a conspiracy and that Trump isn't the type of person to do that. I brought up a bunch of examples of Trump being a predator, making the point that while being guilty by association isn't a thing, the other instances of him being a predator make this seem a lot more plausible, but he told me that Trump never did any of that. And in a way that kind of broke the camel's back for me, because I myself am a victim of sexual assault. And the nasty thought occurred to me that if I ever got assaulted, he probably wouldn't even believe me. Him standing behind someone I consider a rapist means that he condones Trump's actions, and by extension, the actions of the man who assaulted me. I don't know how he, who grew up with women, has a girlfriend who he is fully aware of is Hispanic and an immigrant, has LGBTQ+ friends, and states that he loves people like me and his family can even stand behind something like that. It makes me wonder if there's a side of him that he hasn't revealed to me yet, because this is a new relationship, and that makes me extremely uncomfortable. Would I be an a-hole for telling him that this gives me the ick because my own family is telling me that I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship? Update. For those that want to know where I come from, it's Venezuela. If you don't know what's happening there, then I envy you. I spent the last couple of days with my dad who was visiting me, and also spent time deleting social media and muting a bunch of politics-related stuff, because I've come to realize that regularly listening to people talk about how people like me ruin the country and how we don't belong here isn't really good for my mental health. And neither is dating someone who openly admits to supporting that group. So I talked to my boyfriend. I went to his room instead of inviting him to mine because I knew that if I let him in my room he would just refuse to leave until he convinced me, and I wanted to keep the power of removing myself from the situation anytime. Firstly, I should say that I admitted to him on the day that I made my first post that supporting a known rapist is hurtful to me, because tolerating that behavior makes me question if he's tolerant of the POS who assaulted me, and thus, I see him in a different light. He sent a very long text message just telling me that it hurt his feelings and that he does care about me, my past and being assaulted. It boiled down to, I feel terrible that you see me as the type of person who'd be okay with rape because I'm not okay with it. I acknowledged that I might have been an a-hole to say that, so I started that conversation by apologizing to him, and then following with me just telling him that I want to end the relationship and go back to being friends. He tried to convince me to stay by saying that he really loved me and cared about me and respected my opinions, and that we shouldn't let politics get in the way of our relationship. I responded that I can't change what he believes, and that I value a person's beliefs and the group of people they associate with as a method of how I judge their character. I've already judged him. I don't like what I see, and therefore, I've lost my feelings for him. He told me I was making a generalization. I told him that while it is true that I might be making a generalization, we can't change the fact that in this landscape of politics, many of my rights are in the chopping block, and that I am already starting to resent him for not really feeling listened to when I try to talk about how anxious it's making me. He told me that none of that stuff is going to happen, and that our different opinions shouldn't get in the way of our relationship, and that he's voting for Trump because he thinks he can fight inflation and cares about military members. I told him that while I can list a million reasons why that isn't true, that isn't relevant to the conversation. He then said that all his other relationships never consisted of talking about politics and that this was ridiculous. I pretty much told him that he can't have his cake and eat it. I can't date someone who associates with people who give me trouble, and that this won't be sustainable. Ending this is better for the both of us. I realized that this conversation was going nowhere and decided to just leave. I told him to just give up on it already before leaving. He kept asking me to stay while he thought about what to say, but I didn't. I'm just done. I don't really feel sad. I feel so relieved. I'm going to leave social media for a while and just focus on myself.